my name is Maggie. Thank you so much for joining us here on this episode of Elevate with C&M Coaching. I'm really excited that you're here today. I'm on camera and I'm going to be sharing with you some text messages as promised in my post last week. Today, we are going to go over some text messages and we are going to look at a string of texts that absolutely destroy me and cut me to the core. Let's get started. So I know that everybody is using companies like Tacobi, and I think it's wonderful that we're utilizing AI to reach out to these customers because it is really super important that we do something. Last year, I took some data and some statistics from some mystery shops that we had done, and over a 3-month period, we had done 370 mystery shops. Of those 370 mystery shops, 93% of those customers went without any communication for a full 60 minutes, no phone call, no email, no text message. So I love that we're using systems like this to try to reach out to customers. And I think that it's a great thing if it's done correctly. So today I want to talk to you about a situation that isn't done correctly. Now, something that we do here at C&M Coaching is called lead review. This is where we will log into your CRM and review some of the leads that your team has recently handled. We'll then take a look at that and see if we can find any missteps in the process or see if anything was mishandled. I have a situation for you today. Let me go ahead and share my screen and let's go through these text messages. So here is the first thing that happened, okay? So Monday, October 21st, 6:13 p.m., the lead was received. So the lead came in. The customer was sent an automated text back asking them to complete an application. So Monday 6, maybe they close at 6 p.m. Tuesday, 9:09 a.m., the customer calls into the dealership. The rep that speaks to her says, the salesperson you're working with isn't in the office yet. I will have her give you a call back when she gets here. The person that spoke with this customer at 9:09 a.m. did not put any notes in the CRM that this customer had called. They probably took a Post-it note and message and put it on the salesperson's desk. Instead, the note should be put into the system that this customer called. At 9:11 a.m., when the salesperson arrived at the dealership, they sent a text message to the customer. They did not call the customer, and they texted the customer asking them to fill out an application. But if you look back at 6:13 p.m. the night before, the customer already received a link to that application and had already completed the application. So at 9:38 a.m., the customer says, look, I already sent the app. So the salesperson then responds and says, for some reason, it's not showing up in my system. And then she resends the link to the customer. So at this point, we really should have contacted this customer by phone and reached out to them, right? Next, you can see at 9:49 a.m., the customer replies and says, hey, I finished the application. She sent it back and sent in her documents. She then texts and says, look, my driver's license doesn't match my actual home address. It's different. No big deal. We can figure that out later, right? So then at 9:57 a.m., it's now been almost an hour. The rep texts the customer back and says, I need one more pay stub. Again, why didn't we call this customer and try to build some value in our dealership, talk to the customer about their needs, practice some active listening, see what that customer has going on and how they got in this situation and what we can maybe do to help? After that, 10:08 a.m., the customer says, yep, I'm going to go ahead and send you a pay stub. She does. Then she says, I have $2,000 down, but I have some more questions about how taxes work. Do I need any more money down? And then she also asks about the Kia Sportage. This right now has been 1 full hour of texting back and forth. Look at how many texts we've had back and forth. We now have completed over an hour of texting back and forth when we could have had a 3-minute conversation with this customer, answered all of her questions, and built rapport. But instead, we've wasted an hour at this point. So then at 10:11 a.m., the rep says, you just need your down payment and your insurance money. You don't need anything else. Doesn't answer any questions about the Kia Sportage. Then the customer texts back again and says, can I send you a check stub through text, or do I need to send it through that link and click on that link again? Then the customer says again, is the vehicle dependable? She mentions that she has a brand new baby, so she needs something reliable. And then she sends in 2 more check stubs at 10:14 a.m. Now, this would be the perfect opportunity for this salesperson to say, congratulations on your brand new baby. I really hope to help find you a safe, reliable vehicle that works for you and your new baby, but doesn't. Instead, The rep just responds and says, based on what I know, this vehicle is reliable, but if it becomes unreliable, we'll fix it. Now, I want you to think about that from a compliance standpoint of what that says. We've now promised this customer in writing that if something goes wrong with their vehicle, we'll fix it. What does that mean? Is this something that you want your salespeople just openly telling all of your customers, if it breaks, we'll fix it? It's not, we'll work with you or we'll try to figure something out. It's, we'll fix it. Still no phone call to this customer. No congratulations, like I mentioned. We got to practice some active listening. So 10:22, the customer texts back and says, do you fix the vehicle even after 30 days or the 12,000 miles? This would be, again, a great spot for that rep to contact that customer. The warranty is 12 months or 12,000 miles. Even after that warranty runs out, if the vehicle breaks, we will work with you to get it fixed. So that's, great, but still not super descriptive. What does we'll fix it mean? We don't know. So then we did the hard pull on the customer at 10:31 a.m. Still no contact to this customer at all by phone, which is really nauseating to me. 10:45 a.m., the rep then texts the customer asking when would be a good time for you to come in. I have a test drive open today at 3:15. It's now 10:46 a.m. and the customer says that works, asks what's my monthly payment going to be. I have $2,000 down. This is where everything goes downhill. Now you can see we only have a handful of text messages left, but this is where everything changed. If you can't figure out what went wrong, I'll tell you. It was answering too many questions too soon. You cannot answer too many questions via text or over the phone. You want to have the customer in the store where you can work on different vehicles and find different deals that are going to match not only their budget, but their vehicle needs. We can't be doing this stuff over text. Now, you've done a hard pull on this customer. So at this point, we got to try to get her in, or people are just going to be endlessly running her credit. So about 15 minutes later, we say, what are you looking to put down? Not paying any attention to the fact the customer had just said I had $2,000 down. So we're missing the point here. We're not, again, active listening. We're not paying attention to what that customer says. The customer had already said. Then the salesperson says, it's going to be $110 a week without collateral protection coverage. After collateral protection coverage, it's going to be $134 a week, but you're still going to be responsible for your liability and car insurance. So about 32 minutes later, the customer says, do you have any SUVs on the lot where the monthly payment would be around the $400 to $450 range, including the CPI? She mentioned that when she was quoted the night before online, when she filled out that app, she saw something that said $250 for the payment. Now, I don't know what that was. So this would have been a great time to call that customer and make sure that we clear that up. What she may have seen was $250 bi-weekly, but we don't know because we didn't call her. So then, 20 or so minutes later, the salesperson texts and says it's going to be $221 every 2 weeks or $269 with liability every 2 weeks, which would make it $480 a month. Okay, so we can see right now what's happening. We are over this customer's budget. She's looking for $450 max. And, $30 may not seem like a lot to you or I, but it is to somebody who doesn't have a lot of money and is a single mother with a brand new baby. So then the customer texts back and cancels their appointment because why? Way too much information. Now she doesn't think she can afford the vehicle. Do we not have another vehicle on the lot? Do we not have something else we can do for her? Can we not save her application and then as soon as we get something in her price range, offer that to her? Do we have any minivans? Maybe she can get into like a Malibu or an Impala or something around those sizes. Maybe a Camry would work for her. We don't know because we haven't asked any of those questions. So the customer cancels their appointment. Look at this time span. So we went from 11:56, right? We went from 11:56 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. when the customer then cancels her appointment. So she let all this time lapse, probably trying to decide what to do. Dealership doesn't reach out to the customer in the meantime. And this is why I say calling your customers is so much more valuable than texting, because we didn't build any rapport with this customer. We didn't establish any type of a relationship with her. And now we've just lost her. Way too much back and forth. I mean, you look, this started at 9:09 a.m. and it's now almost 3 o'clock. How much time have we wasted texting back and forth and back and forth and back and forth when we could have just picked up the phone, had a 5-minute call with this customer, and resulted in an appointment, and then try to sell her when she gets to the lot. So the customer says, look, I have to keep all my extra money in my savings account because, like I said, I have this brand new baby and I'm a single mom. So then at 4:30 p.m., so again, if you're looking at this, look at this. We went from 2:30 to 4:23, so not quite, an hour. I'm sorry, not quite 2 hours. But like close, right? The salesperson finally texts back and says, we can get the payment to 400 if you put more money down. So then at 4:35, the customer says, how much? At 5:50, almost 6 o'clock, it's now been 24 hours almost since this customer reached out to us. We say 3,000. So 5:53, I apologize. The customer asks if there's any other vehicles for $2,000 down under 400 a month. And look at this. The dealership never even responded to the customer. We have almost 9 hours of texting back and forth. 24 hours have gone by since the customer initially reached out to us, and we didn't even respond to this customer to let her know if we have something available. And the sad thing about this is we're looking at this about 15 days after this interaction had occurred because we're looking at older leads, right? So when this is happening, we're taking a look at all of these leads and they're, 15, 20 days ago, and you have no contact. So we ran this customer's credit for nothing, for absolutely nothing. And this is, unfortunately, what we see happening time and time again with leads. This is why we can't just text people. This is why we have got to pick up the phone and have conversations. And I know that everybody thinks AI is the bee's knees, and I get it. I understand that, there's this allure behind not having to have as much staff and being able to rely on AI to sell your customers. That's not going to happen. If you look at this interaction right here, this is what happens when you don't have personal human interaction with customers. This. And even though this was a person, it was a human being texting the customer back and forth, there's so much more that can be accomplished in an interaction over the phone and then getting that customer in the store and then working with them face to face. I don't want to buy a car from a robot. Maybe you guys do, but I certainly don't. And I definitely don't want to be texting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth with a customer when I know that the risk of losing them is quite high. Your chances of losing this person because you're texting are so much greater than they are over the phone. But you have to improve your phone skills. You have to have a process. You can't just wing it, just like I talked about last week in my podcast. We have to make sure that we're doing these things efficiently and effectively, and then we're actually trying to reach out to these customers and then reach them as individual human beings. So thanks a lot for listening and for watching this. If you feel like you have text messages like this, you should call us right away and let us do a lead review for you. They're not super expensive. It's $125. We spend an hour in your CRM, and then we'll have a 30-minute meeting and go over all the results with you. We'll find all the holes in your process. If you want a free mystery shop, let me know. We're happy to do those too. But it's really important that we start paying attention to this because, as I have said time and time again, this is costing you money. Mishandling these leads are costing you money. Thank you so much for joining us here on this episode of Elevate with C&M Coaching, and we'll be back next week. Have a great day.